All right. What verse are we on?
We're on verse 112, chapter 3.
Will you help us out, please?
Of course. Mumukshanam upatta punya punya kshaparana paranama apurvanupacha upachayarthinam parisankhya namiddamuchyate avidya hetavo doshaha vamanah kaya pravritti hetavaha pravrittescha ishtanishta miva mishra halani karmani upachiyante iti tanmokshartham. This method of repetition is described for those who aspire after supreme tranquility of the mind by destroying accumulated sins and virtues and refraining from accumulating new ones. Ignorance causes defects. Defects produce efforts of the body, mind, and speech. And through these efforts are accumulated actions having desirable, undesirable, and mixed results. This method is described here so that there may be a cessation of all of these.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful verse. So, I was talking with a student yesterday, and one of the subjects I pointed out, in the end, even desire is not an impediment to realization. What is the impediment to profound peace of mind? It's ignorance. We were going through Vivekachudamani and we had hit Shloka 267, which is one of my favorites, which basically says, even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for rebirth. This needs to be conscientiously rooted out through a steady and continuous identification with the self. It is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that is considered liberation by the wise. Now let's parse this because it addresses the point of this verse. So for most of us in class today, we have glimpses. The mind gets quiet. The introvert, the attentive faculty. We notice the no-thingness. What was the Pema Chodron term? Sky mind?
Something almost like a sky mind.
Yes, I like that. Now, if we're aware of that sky mind, that Chid Akasha, that may be what she's translating, the space of pure awareness. Desire arises and you do not lose your knowledge of the self. See it for what it is. Oh, it's just a form in the mind. Not a big deal. But, if on the other hand, vasana is active. Now, let's review what a vasana is. Vasana is a subset of sanskara. This is what they call sankara. If you're doing the Goenka thing, what he calls Sankara, we would call Vasana. So can you see that this is a table?
Mhm.
Okay, the way you know that's a table is because of impressions. They're not particularly problematic. Knowing that's a table doesn't cause you to suffer. But there's a subset of that called vasana, which are impressions that are left in the unconscious as the result of previously performed egoistic actions, meaning they involve I-ness and minus. So for example, if you heard a car alarm go off, you might think, oh, that's too bad, someone got their car broken into. But if your car were parked outside, you could identify the car alarm. Oh my God, I left my computer in there. It's all very different. Now, a vasana has two powers. Avarana Shakti, veiling power, Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. Again, this becomes easy to understand if we go to the dream state. The dream state is kind of a microcosm of grossified form of the whole thing. So everything's fine in your waking state world. You're healthy, you got plenty of money, you got a place to live, and you go to bed. First thing that happens is you go to sleep. We could say sleep could be defined as the non-apprehension of yourself as the waker. Then the mind projects a dream body and a dream ego. And then all of a sudden there's this dream world, and you've got to chase down a pony in the dream. And you're all anxious. And the dreamer mind says, the only way I can be happy is to catch that pony. When you wake up, where does the problem of the pony go? Varana Shakti, I fall asleep. Vikshepa Shakti, projection of the dream. Now let's not worry too much about the people, places, things, and conditions. Most important in this is the projection of a dream body and a dream ego that's identified with it. Now, a dream has no beginning. When you have a dream, part of the nature of it is the mind projects an unexamined logical cause and effect past. So there you are in a wood trying to chase this pony. You never ask, how did I get from my bed to this wood? I don't know where there's any ponies. I don't even care about ponies. Why am I worried about it? The mind cannot go there. There's no awareness of a beginning of the dream. We have the awareness of the end. You wake up. So also, when vasana is covering the mind, first of Varana Shakti, I forget that my essential nature is that sky of consciousness. Non-apprehension of my essential nature. Then Vikshepa Shakti, I project Jiva Bhavana. I think I'm a person. I think I'm Jim or Fang or David or Mark. Then when I perceive the world with its people, places, things, and conditions, all seems problematic. And the problems are always in relation to me, the ego. I have problems with a relationship. I have problems at school. I have problems with work. I have problems with the government. I have problems with family. My friends don't behave right. My children don't behave right. My parents don't behave right. My government isn't doing the right thing. I mean mine. All of it only becomes problematic when this Jiva Bhavana is there. So, going back to 267, Viveka Chudamani, even after realization of the truth, even though at times the mind is free from ignorance, and I know Aham Brahmasmi, I am that part is Brahman. There exists a strong impression of vasana that I am karta bhokta cha, the doer and the enjoyer. Bhokta here means experiencer. Vedanta, you can enjoy problems too. It means I experience them, which is the cause for rebirth. It doesn't mean, oh my God, I got a bus, I'm going to come back as a lizard. No, it means I re-identify. It means once again, I think I'm Jim, I think I'm the body, and there's relationship with people, places, things, and conditions, and they're joy-giving and misery-producing. And that's serious business. It's a dream. It's a dream. When we're in that state of ignorance, ego always says, resolve the problem of ego. Fix the world or fix me. Shankara here says, no, wake up. So what we need to be able to remember, it's as if you're in the dream chasing the pony, and all of a sudden someone shows up and says, read this letter. And you open the letter and it says, you're dreaming, don't believe anything that's going on. Wake up. Oh, okay. Hard part is to remember to discriminate between the self and the not self, the real and the unreal. This is known as jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge. Well, this sounds just like another thought, another effort. I thought we're supposed to be giving all that stuff up. Yes. But there's a very famous image that Shankara uses in his text, Atma Bodha. If you remember, he says it's like kataka nut powder. In the monsoon, especially in South India, all the rivers and the lakes and the tanks then have silt in it because it all washes down from the mountains and stuff like that. So what the ladies do is they go to the tanks, They get the jars of water, and they take this powder from the katakana. Modern India now, they use largely alum. And you put either the alum or the katakana powder in it, and it has something to do with surface tension. It gathers all the silt, makes it settle to the bottom as sediment. Then you can decant the pure potable water. To use a modern example, jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge, is like detergent. So I need to go do laundry today. So I take my basket of laundry and I go down to the basement. And then I have my little container of Tide Pods. And I put a Tide Pod in the washing machine. What are you doing, Jim? Your clothes are dirty. You're adding more dirt. Ah, yes. I'm adding detergent. But detergent has a special quality. What does the detergent do?
Please.
It allows the dirt to be removed. Then there's a rinse cycle. The detergent doesn't stay in the clothes. What happens in the rinse cycle? The dirt and the detergent get washed away. So jnana abhyasa is spiritual detergent. You have a dirty mind and it needs to be brainwashed. It removes vasana. We're not worried too much about the effects of vasana. Some people say, oh, I've got this vasana for chocolate. Oh, I have this vasana for eating too much. Or I have a vasana for spending too many hours on my phone. No. That's the effect of vasana. The essence of vasana is a varana shakti, veiling power. I forget who I am. Jnana abhyasa reminds me, oh, wait a minute. Who am I? Oh, that's right. Not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the feelings, I'm not my stories about my childhood. They're like a bad dream. Let it go. And we do this over and over and over again. Even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for re-identification. This needs to be conscientiously rooted out. Regular, continuous, steady practice of identification with the self until all the vasana is removed. And Shankara ends that verse saying, it is the annihilation of the vasana here and now. It's considered liberation. Gita will call this state sthita prajna, steady wisdom. In Zen, we'll have the distinction between kensho, little glimpses into your essential nature, and satori, You clearly see who you are. And all the vasana, all the sankhara is gone. Any spiritual practice that allows a personal sense of self to stay in place will ultimately be ineffectual. That doesn't mean it's not beneficial. Those practices are preparatory. The way I like to frame it, if you see the great mountain of truth, there are many paths up the mountain of truth, but there's only one temple on the top of the mountain. And that temple only has one door. Aham, I. So are you going to do asana and pranayama? Yes. Are you going to do vipassana? That'll do. Do you want to do Sufi dancing? That'll do. Do you want to do Reiki? That'll do. Do you want to do breath work? That'll do. All of these are of great value to get you to the top of the mountain. But when the mind is sattvic, find out who you are. Only this brings complete liberation. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Tatra shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandhanam vishayanam shrotra digrahyatvat swatmani pareshu va vijnana bhavaha teshameva parinatanam yatha loshta dinam shrotra divdvarescha jnanyante yena cha gyayante saha gyatritvat atajatiya tehi shabdadayaha anyonya sansargitvat janma vridhi viparinama pakshayana shasan yoga viyoga virbhava tirobhava vikara vikari kshetra bijadyaneka dharmanaha samanyena cha sukha dukkadyaneka karmanaha tadvigyatritva tadvigyata sarva shabdadi dharma vilakshanaha. As they are perceived by the ear and the other senses, the objects called sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell have no knowledge of themselves or of other things. Transformed into the body and other things, they, like brickbats, are known to lack in the said knowledge. Moreover, they are known through the ear, etc. Being the knower, that by which they are known is quite of a different nature. For, connected with one another, though sound and other objects are possessed of various properties such as birth, growth, change of condition, decline, death, contact, separation, appearance, disappearance, cause, effect, and sex. All of them produce various effects like pleasure, pain, and so on. The knower of sound and the like is of a nature different from theirs, as it is the knower.
So what he's summarizing here is to understand the nature of all phenomena without exception. All of the names and forms in the world with reference to me are jada, inert, insentient. The pillow can't know the table. One thought can't know another thought. Wait a minute, Jim. My finger can know my nose. No. When my finger comes in contact with my nose, I know the sensation. Well, what about Fang over there? Isn't she a conscious being over there? Well, now let's examine this. With reference to me, I am not my body, I'm the knower of my body. I am not the prana, I'm the knower of my prana. I am not my feelings, I am not my thoughts. I am the witness of all that. If I am not my body, Fang is not her body. That body over there may wiggle, get up and walk around. But that body is not the knowing principle. If she can see that she's not her body, why would I think she's her body? In fact, that body over there, though it moves, is jada. It's inert. This Sunday, we're going to start with verse 16 in the second chapter of Gita. The unreal has no being. There is no non-being for the real. The wise, the knowers of the truth, know the distinction of this. Very bizarre, kind of weird verse. What does it mean? So here, Vyasa, our poet, is playing with these two words in Sanskrit, Sat and Bhava. Sat means something that really is, exists. Bhava means being, something that's sentient. It's alive. So going back to Sat, Sat and Asat, real and unreal. We can say the table is, the chair is, the lamp is, the child of a barren woman, imagination, Asat. Castles in the clouds, Asat. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, Asat. And even if my senses see it, doesn't mean it's there. Mirage waters in the desert, Asat. It's not real. It has no sat. Let's set that on the shelf. Bhava, being. We also divide the world normally into things and beings. The table is a thing. The chair is a thing. Fang is a being. The dogs that we hear outside are beings. The birds flying are beings. They're alive. You understand this distinction between things and beings, things that exist and don't exist. So what the 16th verse says, what doesn't exist has no being. If it has no being, there is no real existence. Meaning, only consciousness has being and exists. The world of name and form is insentient, meaning it has no bhava and no real existence. Asat. But if ignorance covers my mind, then I have adhyasa, superimposition. I attribute to the not self the qualities of the self. I attribute to the self the qualities of the not self. Anyonya adhyasa. Because of that, I am Jim in my body, fangs over there. And when she behaves, oh, I love you. When she doesn't behave, that's what we do. This world of name and form, gross and subtle. Pratibimba, it's the word the scriptures use all the time. Like reflections in the mirror. Mirror in the bathroom. If I go into the bathroom and I see my face in the mirror, I can say, oh, it looks good today. I think I'll take it out of the mirror and carry it along with me. Cannot do that. Is the reflection in the mirror separate from the mirror? No. It is the nature of the mirror to have reflections in it. It is the mirror itself that appears as the reflections. Yet the surface of the mirror undergoes no change. Likewise, this world of name and form appears in consciousness, like images in a mirror. Yet the substratum undergoes no change. Don't believe me. In a quiet mind, with all the agitations brought to stillness. See if you ever change. Next thought, next verse, next paragraph. They're not really verses.
Tatra shabdadibhi upalabhyamaneh pandyamano vidwan evam parisanchakshita. Shabdastu dhvani samanya matrena vishepa or vishesha dharmaivar panjadibhi priye stutyadibhi ishteh anishtascha asatya bibhatsa paribhavatro shabdabhirchaneha mam driksvabhavam asansarginam avikriyam achalam anidhanam abhayam atyanta sukshmamam avishayam gocharikritya sprishtum nevarhati asansargitva deva mam. Ata eva na shabda nimitta hanihi vridhirva. Ato mam kim karishyati stuti ninda dipriya priyatva dilakshanaha shabdaha. Avivekinam hi shabdam atmatvena gatam priyah shabdo vardhayeta apriyascha kshapayet avivekitvat. Tanu natu mam vivekino valagramatramapi kartum mutsahat iti. Evameva sparshasamanyena tadvisheshaischa shitoshna mridu karkashadijvaro darashuladik dilakshanescha apriyeha priyescha kaschit sharira samavayibhi bahyagantu kanimittescha na mama kachit vikriya vriddhi hani lakshana asparshatvat shriyate vyonna iva mushtighatadibhi tatha rupa samanyena tadvesheshascha priya priyeha strivyanjanadi lakshaneha arupatvat na mam kachit hanihi vridhirva shriyate. Tatha rasa samanyena tadvesheshascha priya priyeha madhuram lavarn katutit takta shayeha mudha buddhibhi parigrihiteha arasat arasatmakasya mama na kachit hanihi vridhirva kriyate. Tatha gandha samanyena tadvisheshahe tad priya priyeha pushpadyan danu lepanadi lakshaneha agnadhatmakasya namam kachit hanihi vridhirva shriyate. Ashabdam masparsham rupam vyayam tatha rasam nitya magandha vachayat iti shruteha. Distressed by sound and other things experienced, the knower of Brahman will thus practice repetition. I, who am of the nature of consciousness, not attached to anything, changeless, immovable, imperishable, free from fear, extremely subtle, and not an object, cannot, for the very fact of my being not attached, be made an object and touched by sound in general, or its special forms, such as the notes of the gamut, praise, etc., which are pleasant and desirable, and false, terrible, insulting, and abusive words, which are undesirable. So there is no loss or gain due to sound. Therefore, what can sound, pleasant or unpleasant, consisting of praise or blame, do to me? Pleasant or unpleasant sound, regarded as belonging to the self, glorifies or injures an ignorant man on account of indiscrimination. But it cannot do even the slightest good or evil to me who am a man of knowledge. These ideas should thus be repeated. Similarly, no change consisting of gain or loss can be produced in me by touch in general, or its special forms such as fever, colic pain, and such other diseases, and coldness, hotness, softness, or roughness, which are unpleasant. Again, pleasant touches connected with the body or brought into existence by external and adventitious causes can likewise produce no change in me, as much as I am beyond touch, like the ether, which, when struck with one's fist, does not meet with any change whatever. Likewise, I am entirely unconnected with sight. No good or harm is done to me by it, either in its general form or in its special forms, both pleasant and unpleasant, such as ugly sights. Similarly, independent of taste, I am not harmed or benefited by it, either in its general form or in its special forms, such as sweetness, sourness, saltiness, pungency, bitterness, and astringency, though accepted as pleasant or unpleasant by the ignorant. Thus, I, who do not consist of smell, cannot be harmed or benefited by it, either in its general form or in its special forms, such as flowers, fragrant pastes, etc., considered to be pleasant or unpleasant. For the Shruti says that I am one who am eternally devoid of sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell.
So he's basically gone through the senses here. But the operative part of the whole paragraph is when he starts through repetition. He's again expanding on this jnana abhyasa, this practice of knowledge. If I have issues, if I have a particular mental reaction to a life situation, how many times have you heard me say, is this the first time you felt this way? vast majority of the time, no. Only the externals change. Why do I feel this way? Habit. Habit. Oh, I react this way because of my grandmother or my father. Okay. I'm not saying that didn't happen and doesn't happen. But right here, right now, they are not present. You have a habit of thinking. We have to take responsibility. Once we do, then we understand those things can change. Through jnana abhyasa, the world will present to the senses conducive and non-conducive environments. If the environment is conducive, if the environment is non-conducive, well, it's all mind ever does. And none of it touches. Even after realization of the truth, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer, which is the cause for re-identification. This needs to be consistently, conscientiously, steadily removed. Steady and continuous identification with the self, jnana abhyasa. It is the annihilation of the vasanas, meaning the destruction of my ignorance, that's considered liberation by the Lord. Now, in the beginning, this is hard to do because that I am the sky of consciousness is theoretical. But all of us now have to some degree had moments the mind drops. And I have the experience. Oh, there's nothing there. Once you have that experience of the mind being able to drop, even if ignorance returns, you have something real with which to work. To do jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge. To simplify what Shankara is saying there, we go to Ramana Maharshi in his very classic practice, Koha, who am I? A sensation, a sight, a feeling, a thought. To whom did this occur? To me. Who am I? Turn the attentive faculty within. Now, this phony self, this dream self that's projected by the mind, one of the words for it is chaya. Chaya means shadow. It's fake news. But they use the word chaya, shadow, because like a shadow in everyday life, when you shine a light on it, what happens to the shadow? Gone, because there's nothing really there. So when the attentive faculty isn't introverted and you go looking for the ego sense, the gem, the aditi, the fang, it falls. What's there? Chidananda Rupaham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am of the form of bliss consciousness. I am Shiva. I am auspicious. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse. It's not a verse.
Kincha ya eva bahya shabdadyah te sharirakarena sanstitah tadgrahakaischa shrotradyakareha antarkarana dvayata dvishayakarena cha Anyonya sansargitvat sanhatvatcha sarvashriyasu tatra evam sati vidusho mama na kaschit shrutah mitram udasino va asti tatra yadi kaschitu mithya jnana manena priyam apriyam va prayuyungsheta kriya phala lakshanam tanmrisheva prayuyungshate saha tasya avishayatvanmam avyakto ayamachintyo ayam iti smriteha tatha sarvesham panchanaamapi bhutanam avikaryah avishayatvat achedyo yamadhyo ayam iti smriteha Yapi sharirendriya sansthana matra mupalakshya madbhaktanam viparitanam cha shreya ashreya de prayuyanksha tajja cha dharma di praptihi sa teshameva na tu mai ajare amrite abhaye nainam krita krite tapataha na karmana vardhate no kaniyan sabahya bhayantaro hyajaha na lipyate loka dukhena bahya इत्यादि श्रुति स्मृतिभ्यः अनात्मा वस्तुनश्च असत्वात् इति परमो हेतुः आत्मनश्च अद्वयत्वविषयाणि द्वयस्यासत्वात् यानि सर्वाणि उपनिषद्वाक्यानि Vistarashaha samikshitvayani samikshitvaya samikshitvayaniti. Moreover, sound and the other external objects that are transformed into the forms of the body, the ear, and the other senses through which they are perceived are transformed into the forms of the two internal organs, the intellect and the mind, and also into those of their objects. For they are all connected and combined with one another in all actions. When this is so, I, who am a man of knowledge, have no one belonging to me as a friend or a foe, nor have I anyone indifferent to me. Anybody, therefore, who wishes to connect me with pleasure or pain, the results of his action, through a false egoism, makes a vain effort. For I am not within the reach of pain or pleasure, as the Shruti says. It is unmanifested and inscrutable. Similarly, I am not changeable by the action of any of the five elements, as I am not an object of an objective nature. Therefore, the Shruti says, it cannot be cut or burnt. The merit or demerit arising out of good or evil done to this combination of the body and the senses on the part of those who are devotional or adverse to me will be theirs, but will not touch me, who am devoid of old age, death, and fear. As the Shruti and Smritis say, it is not pained by omission and commission. It is not harmed or benefited by any action. Unborn, comprising the interior and exterior, and it is beyond the pain felt by the people and unattached. The supreme reason why I am unattached is that nothing really exists except the self. As duality does not exist, the portions of the Upanishads regarding the oneness of the self should be studied to a great extent. Here ends the prose portion of 1,000 teachings written by the all-knowing Shankara.
So, the import of this last verse here. The senses report data from the phenomenal world. Then the mind and the intellect do their particular thing. The mind says, this is pleasurable, this is not pleasurable. I judge this as positive, I judge that as negative, aversive. And the intellect comes in and says, I'm going to do this again, I'm never going to do that again. That person's a schmuck, this person's really wonderful. All of that is just phenomena. Now listen carefully. Shranu. The scriptures do not say that as the result of self-realization, you're going to hit all the green lights of life. Essentially, life out there in the phenomenal world is a sine wave. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. It's day, it's night. It's day, it's night. My stock portfolio goes up, my stock portfolio goes down. The Republicans win, the Democrats win. And most importantly, these people like me. These people don't like me. Shankara is saying, for the person of steady wisdom, never And if the mind reacts positively or negatively, that never touches me. Don't worry, it'll pass. It always passes. Sarvamaya, Sarvamana. It's all Maya. Ultimately, it's all this. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. You want to get rid of your worries? Quit worrying. Take it easy. No big deal. Nothing ever touches the self. Practice this knowledge. Not by just vain repetition on an outer. The self is never hurt. The self is never hurt. The self is never hurt. But I'm upset. No. Stop. Turn your mind inward and look to see, does anything ever really touch? How do I have happiness that's not of this world? Let go, let go, let go. Okay, I think this is a good place to stop. And next week we enter into the poetry, which I'm looking forward to. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om. Thank you all, and thank you, Aditi. That's been a real challenge, making your way through all that prose. You've done a great job.
Thank you.